bypass that. And do we have any calls to the public?
Should we take this opportunity to explain how we're going to do that, Marcia?
Yeah, I think so. I think this would be a good spot.
You want me to take that, or are you taking that one?
Oh, I think you should do that.
Okay, so because this is a WebEx format, if you're a member of the public and you wish to speak during call to the public, you can send a chat message. Or if you have the ability, you could also raise your hand. If you have a participant list on the side of your screen and you hover over your name, there should be a place where you can raise a hand. In addition, for trustees or staff or anybody else who's on the line, we're going to mute everybody so that people aren't talking over each other. And if you want to speak, just do the hand raise there, and Storm will unmute you and let you join in the conversation. Did I miss anything?
And then the chat at the bottom.
Yeah, and then the chat if you have, and you can also use the chat if you have questions or want to say anything. And I'm sorry, I should have said, any question should be directed not to everybody, but to me, Jamie Schulenberg.
Great. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the old business 3.1, item 3.1?
So moved.
I'll second.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
Marcia Cox seconded.
Thank you. Amy Burney,
Yes.
Marcia Cox,
Yes.
Julie Sassine. Sorry about that. Julie?
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 4.1, approval of January and February 2020 financials, new business. Do we have a motion to approve the financials for January and February financials?
I make a motion to approve financials for January and February.
I'll second. This is Marcia Cox.
Amy Burney, Marcia Cox,
Yes.
Julie Sassine.
Yes.
Item 4.2 is ratification of high deductible health plan teledoc consultation fees and update on COVID-19. Do I have a motion to approve ratification 4.2?
I'll make a motion to approve ratification 4.2.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Amy Burney,
Yes.
Sassine.
Yes.
I'm going to go over this. I think, Jamie, you could probably help with a little more of the background on this information. We obviously, because of all the COVID-19 and all the information, had to make some pretty, I wouldn't say quick decisions because it took us a bit of time, but just to do a ratification of what was happening with what was going on with COVID-19, and especially because we have a high deductible health plan in our self-insured plan. And so we took some very concerted steps to make sure that the members of the district were going to be had the opportunity to be able to use telemedicine and the teledoc opportunities, and to have certain co-pays and things waived if they had a concern about being tested and whatnot. And so, Jamie, if it's okay with you, I'm going to have you kind of go through some of that information and kind of go through a history of what we did and why it's necessary for us to have this ratified at this time, and why this is more a ratification of what we did. Can you do that for us?
Sure, absolutely. So as you mentioned, when this whole pandemic started to sort of unfold, we were getting information literally multiple times a day. It was changing, changing, changing. And so we took immediate steps to address the information as it was coming through, from everything to waiving the copays for COVID-related testing, and defining it the way it was defined. And then we went a step further and also at that time agreed to waive the telemedicine copays, not only through Teledoc, but if there are virtual telemedicine visits as well. As a result of that, so right now under your Teledoc plan, all of the copays are waived except for high deductible, because the law does not allow, in order to maintain that health savings accounts as qualified under a high deductible plan, there's no first dollar coverage that can be permitted except for preventive services. So as we went through all this, and the stuff was coming again at a really, really fast rate, we made the decision to waive those Teledoc co-payments for high deductible health plan. And then subsequently, there were the regulations that came out, the Families First and the CARES Acts, both actually then mandated that those things had to all happen. So we were just a step ahead based on what we thought was coming down the pipeline. And then we had further guidance from the IRS that came out and said that with respect to high deductible health plans, they would consider those COVID-related Teledoc or telemedicine visits under the same first dollar coverage under the same preventive coverage as others of the same nature. And then they went on to say that understanding that a lot of those telemedicine providers were not able to differentiate between COVID versus another type of visit, they're actually allowing the waiver of copays for all telemedicine visits for high deductible health plans. And so what we did through the chairperson was we made those decisions. They're effective through June 30, 2020, because obviously that's when this plan terminates. And so because that decision was made outside of the board scenario, the action here is to just ratify that as a board.
And so I think one of the important things to make sure is that through this meeting and through a flyer that we've provided to the district is to let everyone know that if there's a member that's covered under the plan, feels like they need to speak to their provider about symptoms or asymptomatic or anything COVID related, they can use the Teledoc telemedicine opportunity, or if their provider has a telemedicine platform where they can talk to them about COVID related issues. We made that decision so that can happen now. And that was something that was really important. And the bottom line is, because we're a self-insured plan, that decision had to be made within the EBT because we're self-insured. All of these other fully insured programs, it was automatic. The payer, the fully insured programs, they could make those blanket decisions and notify all of their, policyholders, that this was going to be a statement. But because these are LHUSD EBT dollars that are going to pay for this, it was very important to make sure that our members understood that protection and that peace of mind, if you will, was going to be there. So that, I guess we just want to make sure that word gets out there. And there is a flyer that we've provided to the district that can be distributed, and Mr. Murray can speak to that. But the bottom line is that it is the copay will be waived. If you want to, if you have questions, if you need to contact your doctor about that, to be rest assured that your benefits are going to be available for that. So that was just kind of a big deal. Do you have any questions on that at all? So this was just basically the ratification of that. And I think that was, you know, based on where we were. And I think we actually started talking about that. And I think Quarterback wasn't even sure what was going to happen even a month ago. We weren't sure, but it was the right decision. So we're just ratifying it and taking care of the members. So I think it was a good decision to make. Okay, item 4.3 is discussion regarding the LHS EBT wind down. So do we have a motion to discuss the LHS EBT wind down?
I'll make a motion to discuss the LHS EBT wind down.
I'll second it.
Amy Barney,
Yes.
Marsha Cox,
Yes.
Julie Sassine.
Yes.
Okay, Jamie, I'm going to have you take this one as well.
Sure. So basically what we wanted to do is take an opportunity here to walk through the process of what happens once the trust shuts down on June 30, obviously, just because the trust is changing how it's going to, or excuse me, just because the district is changing how it's going to provide their medical benefits, there are certain things that still have to happen in terms of this particular trust, because we're going to have claims that have been incurred prior to June 30 that have not been paid yet. And that's really the primary thing that has to happen for a while after the trust ceases its active operations. So basically, in accordance with your trust document, the trust remains in existence to wind down the affairs. Typically speaking, this process lasts 12 to 18 months. You do have, our members have 12 months to submit claims from the date of service. So that's why we typically say 12 months. And then if there's a little run out after that, it may take a little bit longer than that. The trust board does remain in place during that time so that they can oversee the fiduciary responsibilities associated with those claims payments, making sure the money is there and the claims are being paid and so on and so forth. The need, and also to handle any appeals as they do today. Need for meetings may be reduced. That'll really ultimately be up to the trust board. You know, obviously the day-to-day business is greatly reduced. And so how often you all want to meet after that is going to be up to you. We do have some anticipated costs that we've outlined for you here. In addition to the claims that will be due after the fact, we are going to pay Gilsbar 3 months of their fee to provide 6 months of what's called run out claims processing. So any claims that come in between July and December, they'll continue to process and pay. If we believe that the majority of claims will be done by that time, but there will be some stragglers after, after December 31st. We'll then move to Ameriben. It's a little more, well, we have a couple of options and we'll take a look at those as we get closer, and that's something that the trust board can decide how they want to do. We could continue to pay Gilsbar to process those claims that come in after December 31. It's on a per claim basis, and we can have a lag report run and we can have a pending claims report run, and there are things we can do to sort of estimate what those costs look like. Alternatively, we could ask Ameriben and a EBT's administrator to process those claims. They would be called run-in claims at that point. There's also a per claim fee, but it's a little more difficult because they don't have the accumulator information as far as deductibles and co-insurance and those kinds of things. So we can talk more about that when we get to that point. But basically, we're going to be paying Gilsbar a fee to continue to process claims. We're going to have to pay Mike Shunning of Chiron, the actuary, to do his final incurred but not paid analysis.
We got low bandwidth for Jamie.
I think so.
Maybe let her know that and then we can
Yeah.
switch to phone. Everybody's using the internet. The whole world.
I just messaged her.
Okay.
Let me try the other way too.
Was everybody down or just me?
Just you, but we can hear you now.
Sorry about that. Okay. Where did I leave off?
Mike Shunning.
Well, that's good. So, CA per contract will get 3 months of fee for to maintain through the entire wind down period. I spoke with National Cooperative, and they actually do not charge admin fees after the contract ends on 6/30, so there is no fee for that. And then we've included in here just an estimate on legal fees. And that would be relative to legal advice that you may need with respect to appeals or anything of that nature. So those are estimates at this time. We'll have a better handle on what those look like as we get a little closer to the June 30 date, because they're all based on census and so forth. All the claims and fees that are due are paid from the funds that remain in the trust. And then, as I said, once all of that is concluded, according to the document, basically just stay in that account and are used. Document, the trustees are to render a final accounting of all the trust's affairs to the governing board, at which time trustees are discharged of any further duties. There are some things we wanted to point out in terms of what happens from an employee perspective. Teams that have a date of service of June 30th, 2020 or prior continue to be submitted in the same manner they are today. It really should be transparent from an employee perspective, where I think you'll have
Storm.
Yeah, I'm texting her.
I think what we all need to do is maybe turn the video part off and just go just on the, because that'll save some bandwidth. That might just be a suggestion. I'm going to go ahead and turn my video off because it'll definitely save some bandwidth.
Okay.
Can you still hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay. That might,
Jamie, can you hear us? Hang on 1 second.
everybody's getting off work and starting to get on their computers, so
Yeah.
the whole world's going crazy.
I can hear you. Yeah, we went ahead and turned. So hopefully that'll help with the bandwidth.
I can't figure out how to turn my video off.
Just
So
video. If you see yourself in the picture, yeah.
There, I think I got it. Maybe not.
no.
That's fine. If you're the only one on there with video, it'll be fine.
Great. Oh, wait, it just came back. Here we go. This one. Okay.
Yep.
Yay. My floating menu went away.
There you go.
I'm sorry, so we were cutting out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You basically left off at, I think with the trans employees.
Okay. So where employees will likely see an issue, if there are issues at all, will be if they forget to provide, it could be a couple things. One, they forget to provide their updated ID card, their new NAEBT ID card to their providers, or their providers have the card but forget to bill the correct insurance carrier. Then what will happen is those claims will go back to the LHS EBT and be denied because they're after the trust terminated. So really, really important that employees remember that they need to make sure their providers have their new ID card. There also could be some confusion from employees as far as who they're supposed to call if they've got questions, whether it be for claims that occurred under the Havasu Schools Trust or whether it's under NAEBT. If they call ECA, we'll be able to help them regardless, since both of those plans are administered by our firm. So if I happen to get a call on NAEBT, I'll refer it over to Stephanie and Bob, their group. If it's not something I can just easily answer. Alternatively, if they get a call for Lake Havasu Schools claims or information, they can do the same. So that should be relatively easy on our end. Again, it just may cause some confusion, and I'm sure that that'll be addressed in some of the materials that will be going out as the transition progresses. Happy to answer any questions.
And that transition is going to be what, till May 17th, I think, is the open enrollment. So we still have some time to make sure everybody knows that effective July 1, they need to use their new cards and do all of that.
Right, right.
Okay. Well, and the nice thing about it is that they're not, the benefit consultant is still ECA. So it's not like it's, changing from, one consultant to a completely different team. So that to me was a great peace of mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I actually had a question come in today that was really more related to any EBT. It had, so it's something I was able to easily answer. But again, I mean, we could just forward those things directly to that team, and they can forward things that belong to us. So it's not a big deal at all from our end.
Good. Very good. Very good. So any questions from anyone in the audience at all, or?
Nope.
And then we'll do like a final accounting. I mean, again, and our next meeting is in July, which will be a couple of weeks after the, after the termination date or whatever, but we'll still be an accounting, more of an accounting function at that point, but, just kind of keeping track of everything. And then at that point, I guess we'll just decide, do we really need to have quarterly meetings, or do we want to have them, I don't know if 6 months is too long in between, or if we want to have them every 4 months or 5, whatever, but we can decide. And maybe at that point, Jamie, maybe what we can look at is what the runoff is on the claims, and see how far we are. And, by the middle of July, we may not really know. But maybe by, mid-August or September, October, that kind of thing, we'll know, kind of what we're looking at. Because the incurred but not reported, in Storm, I'm really sorry, I just kind of walked right over there on the approval on the February and the financials. But it looked like we really kind of had sort of a good feel of what the excess loss claims are on the runoff. Looking for a little bit more on the excess reimbursements, but everything else is pretty much in line, right?
And I agree with you, Marcia. I think that we're not going to really have a good handle in July as far as what the run out claims are looking. I mean, we'll have an idea, but I think we'll have a much better idea probably closer to September. And certainly, you know, we can set a meeting at the July meeting, and then if it looks like, you know, we want to push it back because there's just not much going on, you know, you can make that decision at that time.
Okay. But as we know, I mean, where we stand right now is we know that we've got a little over 3 million in surplus. We know that we're going to have some runoff on that, but that we've got those 10 large claims. We know that we've got the dollars available to make sure that those are going to be covered, and then in July, like you said, we can kind of figure out what we want to do from there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the wild card here, and you know, is really COVID. You know, we just don't know how those claims may affect the district, any of our clients really, and so we're obviously keeping a really close watch on that, and fingers crossed it's not going to have a majorly negative impact. Number one, obviously on our members' lives, but also to the finances of the trust.
Right. True. Is there a way for us, I guess there would be a way for us to kind of track that separately, just because of the diagnosis codes, we can kind of carve that out. But after July 1st, that would be an NAEBT thing. So for us, it would be up to June 30th, which hopefully our governor's going to decide that we're actually spread far enough now that we can actually go back to work.
That would be nice.
I guess we'll find out, but yeah. But I think just based on the diagnosis codes and everything, I think that we could probably separate that out and see what kind of information we could, you know, glean from that. But
yeah, we've actually already put out an email to American Health Group, and also to, I don't think we've reached out to the TPAs yet, because American Health Group could only tell us about hospitalizations. So, but I think Aaron was actually doing that just so we can try to have some idea of what we might be facing. So we just started that process this week.
okay. On the let me get my note here real quick. On the on Ameriben processing claims after, because you said Gillsbar was going to we were going to pay them 3 months of fees for 6 months of claims processing. You know, Ameriben has that algorithm. I can't remember what you call it. They have a way of kind of identifying little pockets of issues and problems and things. And I don't know if that would affect us or help us in any way of them processing some of these runoff claims. Have you thought about that at all? Or is that a cost benefit to us to have them help with that? Or is it just go ahead and let Gillsbar finish that out and all good?
You know, it's really more about the data. Gillsbar would have to transfer claim files to Ameriben, and Ameriben would have to be able to accept those and load them for the prior year. And I've seen this done before where they just accept it, because we had a scenario where a TPA went really bad. Not Gillsbar, it was a different TPA, different situation, but they ended up having to, it was just on a one-by-one basis. They would have to contact the former TPA, get the data, process the claim. So, I mean, there's, again, I really think that we'll have the majority of claims done by December 31.
Okay.
But again, we can take another look and then decide. And obviously we would need to talk to Ameriben about that as well to see what makes the most sense.
Have you seen Gillsbar do a wind down before? I mean, have you had any experience with them? You know, bad, ugly, what?
I'm trying to, no, not with Gillsbar. I've done 2 wind downs. One was, well, that's not true. I've done 1 wind down. It was with Ameriben, and they did an excellent job. And then I've had several TPA transitions, which have some of the same similarities in terms of the claims processing and so forth. And Gillsbar wasn't any of those either.
But after we made the internal changes with the Gills Bar staffing, you've seen a better response from them. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Night and day. Yep.
All right. Okay, that's all I had. So any more questions from anybody, or we're almost on record for having one of the shortest meetings? And we don't even have Hal here. So we can't give him any credit. Okay. Okay. So I don't think we really need to take a vote on that because that was just a discussion.
Yep.
All right. And then updates and announcements. We just kind of wanted to get some clarity on that a little bit.
Yeah, so I'll actually let Jamie Merlino is on the phone talk about the mom piece. But I just happened to get an email today from National Cooperative that the trust will be receiving its fourth quarter 2019 prescription rebate in the amount of just over $59,000. So that will be coming shortly.
Oh, I like that number.
Right? Not bad.
Yeah.
We'll take it. And then I'll let Jamie talk about mom.
All right, well, I have a short update also. So the agreement with mobile on-site mammography was finalized last week. The dates were originally scheduled for the first weekend of April, but were postponed due to COVID. So the new dates are now May 15th through 17th, and the flyer was already sent out last week. I've requested an update from Mom, and I will send that over to HR when I have new numbers. And that's all.
Great. And then, so we know now that after the transition to NABT, the mammograms, there's no longer a requirement to do mom mammograms. I mean, you'll be able to go anywhere you want, right?
That's correct. I do think they use mom and they'll still continue to bring them on site, just that it won't be required for employees to use them as it is today.
They're actually switching next year.
Oh, all right. So it won't be mom anymore on site.
I believe they're going with assured imaging.
All right. And we
So-
have distributed that information to people. So they do know that effective 7/1, that requirement doesn't exist any longer.
Right. So, okay, good. So they can still go anywhere they want. Okay. Yay. Okay, so do we have any other updates or announcements or?
Not from ECA.
Amy or Julie, anything?
Nothing for me.
Nothing from me.
Well, then we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to
Motion to adjourn.
We'll give that one to Julie since she's got to go home, go to bed or something. I don't.
I'm still at the hospital, so I want to go
I
home.
know. I'm hoping you will go to bed, go home sometime.
I'll second.
There you go.
Amy Barney,
Yes.
Marsha Cox,
Yes.
Yes.
Call this adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Everybody. Thank you, guys. Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.